welcome to my first pregnancy vlog or something from baby number 2. I am so excited to be sharing my first trimester recap with you today. A, because I'm really excited to finally be able to share this news with you and not have to keep it a secret anymore. And B, and probably most importantly, I am relieved, beyond relief, to be in my second trimester, because that means that baby is here to stay. Oh, you know, it's significantly more, let's just say it's just a relief, okay? Because I feel like it's a milestone getting into that second trimester for more than one reason, but especially, I don't know, you don't learn about this, and I feel like I didn't learn about this in advance, regardless of all the research I did and all the baby books I read and classes I took and people's videos I watched about, even before I conceived Charlotte, about what it was like to be pregnant. But you don't hear as much about the like anxiety and fear that just kind of clouds the first trimester a little bit, or a lot, depending, because you're just, I mean, at least in my experience, I was just so fearful of losing the baby. I just had heard so many sad stories about miscarriages, and I talked about this a little bit in a pregnancy announcement, but I was just really nervous. I think probably as much as I was with Charlotte, and I had other reasons to be nervous with her because I had bleeding with her, I had issues with implantation before her, so there was a lot kind of on the line in that first trimester. But this trimester I was just as nervous, and I didn't have any spotting, any bleeding, no like complications like that at all. But I just had heard so many stories, and I just think that kind of colored my my feelings of just feeling nervous, like you just want to get to that second trimester. So I'm so excited to be here and to be sharing with you. I'll try not to talk forever. I feel like there's not too much to tell you about the first trimester. I will try to point out the differences between my two pregnancies, because they're only 2 years apart, these pregnancies, so I do remember quite a bit from Charlotte's. I will tell you that all those things they tell you about with your second baby, you know, you don't even have time to really care as much about doing all those pregnancy like things, like taking weekly bump photos and you know, doing like a big gender reveal party and all. Like, I did all of that with Charlotte, and it was so much fun, and I so enjoyed it. But yeah, I have not done that with baby number 2. I probably would have done the gender reveal party, except the timing of it. We found out the gender because we had the chromosomal the blood test they do this mainly to check for chromosomal like defects, abnormalities, so like Down syndrome, and there's a couple of other, the big ones that I can never remember the names of, that all came back fine and healthy. Thank God. I was so panicked about that test. But you also find out the gender of the baby, and it's something like 99.9% accurate. It's even more accurate than the scan will be, the ultrasound, because it actually pulls the baby's chromosomes like out of your bloodstream. So, because your blood and the baby's blood mix in your body. It's not weird to think about, but yeah. So it's very, very accurate. So we're having a boy, and they confirmed that at my 12-week ultrasound. Technically, they're not allowed to tell you unless you already know at your 12-week ultrasound if it's a boy or girl, but they can tell, and we could tell. Let's just say it was obvious. It's definitely a boy, so we're super, super excited to be having a little boy. Again, I talked about this in my announcement video. I'll throw a link up to that if you guys missed that. It's a shorter video for me, let's just say. Maybe not short by other people's standards. Anyway, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we found out, and then how I've been feeling, and the things that have happened in the first trimester. Again, there's not terribly a big amount of things to report. So, oh my gosh, I don't even know what date we found out. This is the second baby. Like, it's in my journal. I should have brought that in here. Was it May? When was my, oh geez, hold on. This is like so indicative of the second child, I feel like. Not that you love them any less, it's just, especially with a toddler, like I have a 19-month-old, you just don't, there's just no brain power for that. There's just no brain power. Let me see. I don't even remember, you guys, how sad. Let me go get my journal, hold on. Okay. All right, I got my journal here. I've done a whole video on this before. I'll link that for you guys too if you want to see it. I do a daily journal where I put in a little picture, talk a little bit about what happened in the day, and I write down 3 things I'm grateful for. Sorry, I'm out of breath. I'm like running through the house. So it was Memorial Day, and May 29th, and I took my first pregnancy test because I chart. Again, I did a whole video on charting too, and I will link that for you guys as well. So I know exactly when I've ovulated after it's happened. I know when it's leading up to it, and then I can confirm exactly when it's happened after the fact. And then I know when I am late, because even like before you would technically know that you're late, my temperature had spiked and it had not dipped where it would normally dip right before I get my period. So I knew I had conceived. I just didn't know how successful it was. So I took a pregnancy test that Monday, Memorial Day morning, and it was one of those ones that's a line, not a digital test, and it came back very ambiguous. It was 2 very faint lines. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? And I remember running into the bed. It was very early. It was like 5 in the morning. Running back into the bedroom and going, like, waving it in front of Don's face. He was half asleep. I mean, he was asleep. I was like, what does this mean? What does this mean? He's like, I don't know. I was like, doesn't it look like there's a second line there? And the second line meant pregnant. He's like, yeah, but I don't know. Like, let's not get too excited about it. So I was like, oh my gosh. And I actually texted a picture to my acupuncturist, and I have been sticking with my acupuncture routine. Going to that, which I talked about a lot in my first pregnancy as well. And she was like, that looks pretty ambiguous, wait a few days and try again. So on Wednesday, May 31st, I took a digital test, and it came back with the BFP, the big fat positive. A yes, like indistinguishable, definitely pregnant. And then on Friday, I took a 3rd one just to be sure, even though I knew, And so I ended up taking 3 pregnancy tests that week. They were all positive, and it was so exciting. And we ended up telling the family just the next weekend. We had everybody for brunch over the second weekend in June, and we told my parents and Don's folks and Don's sister and her husband and my brother and sister-in-law. We waited to tell until we saw them at the end of the month because I wanted to tell them in person. But we told the family pretty much right away. And of course I made my doctor's appointment. I went to my first prenatal appointment on June 19th, and I had my first scan that day, and I was 6 weeks pregnant. So that was kind of how we found out. We were just, Don and I were both just a little like in shock, I think, that it happened so fast. Literally we did not have to try more than 1 cycle. We got it the first cycle, which was completely different experience from with Charlotte, where it took some time. We had to go through some infertility stuff and all of that to get there. But we were both very surprised and very delighted to have become pregnant so fast. And I am sharing this with you, and I mentioned this in my announcement video, not to like brag or anything like that, because I know it's a very sensitive topic. I've been there. I have been on the other end where you are desperately wanting a baby and you can't seem to get there, and I know how devastating that feels. But I like the idea of sharing both stories, having both your difficult experiences to hear about and your less difficult experiences to hear about, because you don't always know. Sometimes it's really easy, sometimes it's really hard, sometimes it's just somewhere in between. We started trying early. My minimum age gap for the kids was 2 years. I already talked about all this in that video, but I'll just touch on it briefly. We started trying right when I knew they'd be just 2 years apart, because I didn't know how long it would take. A, it took some time with Charlotte and I had to buffer that in. B, I just heard so many things about people having issues with their second babies from people in my personal life and even people I follow online with miscarriages and just having trouble. And then C, I'm gonna be 35 in January, and that's considered advanced maternal age. In fact, because our baby's due date is after my birthday. It's just like a week, but it's after my birthday. I am categorized as AMA, advanced maternal age. So that means I have to do a few additional tests. I have to have a level 2 ultrasound at 20 weeks, which I have to go to the hospital for. It's just a little bit more in depth. So they, you know, they do a little bit more, they spend a little bit more time focusing on the measurements and stuff. And then also, I think at 36 weeks, I have to start getting like weekly stress tests at the hospital. But I'll go into all that later when I know more about that, because I'm still like, what? But anyway, so that was a factor as well in how early we started trying and how that happened. We did not expect for it to not take any time, but it didn't, and we're thrilled, and it's gonna work out great. I mean, the kids are gonna be very close in age, but it will be, you know, it will be an adventure. And it's not like it's not been done before. So that's basically how the first 6 weeks went. I started feeling sick pretty much the week I took that pregnancy test. And I have felt pretty sick every day since. It's only this past week that I is starting to lift a little bit. And when I say sick, I mean just really, really nauseous. There have been times where I've been super tired. I haven't been super tired the whole time. I feel like the exhaustion lifted at around 10 or 11 weeks. It was really, really heightened, especially when we were in, we spent that 2 weeks on the East Coast in Long Island and in Pennsylvania for back-to-back family reunions, and I was just wiped the whole time. And once we got back home from that, I actually felt much better in the exhaustion department. My level of nausea and just general ickiness did not change throughout the whole first trimester. I just, every day, pretty much all day, I have felt sick. Excuse me. I think I've been pretty lucky that I haven't been physically ill, but on the other hand, I think if I was the kind of person who wasn't extraordinarily and vehemently opposed to throwing up, I would probably have thrown up most every day, because I am the kind of person who will do everything in my power to not throw up. I really don't like it. Like, it's like a visceral reaction. I do not like throwing up. But that hasn't taken away from the fact that I've just felt like total crap. But that has been totally different from my pregnancy with Charlotte. With Charlotte, I really wasn't that tired. I wasn't sick basically at all. In my first trimester, I didn't feel sick really. I mean, I had little bits here and there, but nothing like this. This has been totally different in that way. But with her, I had some first trimester spotting and a bleeding incident that sent us all into a panic, which ended up being just a clot, and it was fine. But I haven't had any of that with this baby. No spotting, none of that. And that's been great to not have to go through that panic. And actually having that bit of sickness, like feeling sick every day, kind of reassured me that everything was okay, because you hear about pregnant people feeling sick and you think that's what you're supposed to feel, and when you don't feel sick, you're like, well, what's wrong? Why aren't I feeling sick? It's a weird world, the world of pregnancy. But anyway, had the 6-week scan and appointment. Everything looked good. Baby was measuring on target. Like I said, because I know exactly the day I ovulated, that helps with determining due date. And I was spot on. So everything looks great there. And the appointment went great. You have to give like 20 vials of blood. They run all of these tests for you and for the baby and stuff. And everything came out clear and healthy. Every test I've had has come back great, so that's been a relief. I think it was just 11 weeks, I went in just for a blood draw to do that test where they check for chromosomal defects and genetic kind of issues such as Down syndrome, trisomy, is that how you pronounce that? There's a third one I can't remember, but at that test they also can pull out the gender, because the baby's blood actually mixes with the mother's blood, and that's what flows through your body when you're pregnant. Isn't that cool? I think that's the coolest thing to think about. So they can pull out the baby's gender from the chromosomes from the blood. So that's how we found out I was just over 12 weeks when we got the news back that we were having a boy, and we are so excited to be having a little boy. Dawn is over the moon excited. I mean, I said this in the announcement video, we would have been happy either way, just with a healthy child. But having a little boy just feels like the last piece of the puzzle to our family. And I know I'm gonna get questions. This is definitely our last baby. I've always thought of myself as having 2 children, especially as I'm getting older, and the complications that come with that, and just, I don't know, just having this family as 2 children just feels really right for both of us. So this is definitely the last baby for us. But we're so thrilled for our little boy, and Charlotte's gonna have a little brother. I know I'm gonna have questions about how Charlotte is reacting with the news. To be honest, she's 19 months old. I don't think she quite understands the concept yet. First of all, I didn't really talk about the baby much until I got to about 12 weeks because I didn't want it to be something, she's so young that she wouldn't really understand to have a sibling coming and then to have them not coming. Like, I just wanted to be sure everything was okay, that we made it to the 12-week scan and appointment, all that went well, and that I made it, you know, past that 12-week hump, and now at 14 weeks into the second trimester, I'm just feeling a lot more confident about the pregnancy. I think many mothers can empathize with that kind of feeling. And also just her being so young, she really doesn't understand yet. But the nice thing, I don't know if you can tell, but we're at the Utah house. This is my in-laws' bedroom here. It has the best lighting. I don't have any like studio lighting at the house here, so they're so kind and they let me film in their bedroom because it has the most natural light. But now that we're here with Don's folks and his brother and sister, no, his sister and her husband. He doesn't have a brother. And their 2 kids. They have a little girl, Grace, who is 4, and a little boy, Theo, who is just 6 weeks younger than Charlotte. So it's great to be here for many reasons, but the one that pertains to this video is that we can talk about Theo being Grace's little brother and how Charlotte's gonna have a little brother like Grace has Theo. So now that we're like safely in the second trimester and we have that kind of immersion for a whole month, we're all here together, example for her, I think it's gonna help her kind of really understand the concept of having a little brother. And as she gets a little older, definitely as we get closer to 2, she'll be able to understand it a lot better, I think. So we've really only just started talking to her about it, very casually, not like cramming like a lot of information in her little head or anything, but just talking a little bit about the baby and her little brother and how it's nice to maybe have a little brother like Theo, and Grace is Theo. And so yes, we have started talking to her about it. She doesn't really get it yet, but she, you know, I'm sure she'll be excited once she really gets it. And I think she'll be a great big sister. So yeah, basically I haven't had any big blips or anything in my first trimester. There was a few weeks where I felt super gross, like more nauseous than nauseous. And that was between, I would say 12 to 13 weeks, it really peaked. And then, like I said, this past week, it has been coming down a bit more than it has for the whole first trimester, for the whole pregnancy so far. So I'm kind of hoping we're over the hump. I don't know. I don't have any expectations for that, but I'm so happy to just have energy back. Not every day do I have great energy, but I have it much more than I did for the first couple of months with the pregnancy. And that is critical, being a mom of a toddler, just to have the energy. Like, I can get through the day feeling sick all day, but if I am sick all day and exhausted, that's really tough. Those days are the hardest. So having more days than not that I have energy, regardless of how well I'm feeling, has been really great. So hopefully next time I report back to you guys, I'll be feeling better in general. But I feel blessed, and I feel really lucky that I've been able to not be physically like throwing up or anything. Although, like I said, I think I probably would have thrown up a lot if I wasn't so weirdly vehemently opposed to it. Yeah, that all went well. We had our 12-week scan. I was actually already technically just 13 weeks when we had it. And I will, oh no, I don't have it in this journal. I have a little picture of the baby that I will pop in somewhere. But they took some, you know, measurements and things, and everything looks good, and his little profile is so sweet, and Oh, it is just so, I got like teary-eyed looking at that while we were having the scan, because it's just like, you're really there. I don't know if anybody else gets this feeling, but the same with Charlotte's pregnancy. During the first trimester, I think I was just so fearful to get too attached to the idea of being pregnant and to have a baby in utero, that because I was so terrified of losing the baby and having that emotional, you know, basically like your heart ripped out, that I feel like I held back both with Charlotte and with this baby in getting really attached to the baby until I was safely in my second trimester. And just like with Charlotte's pregnancy, just now I'm starting to get really attached and talking to the baby and holding my belly and wow, this is huge. How did I not tell you this? I started to be able to feel him. I don't remember, I'd have to pull out Charlotte's pregnancy journal. I don't remember when I started feeling Charlotte, but it was a long time. I remember I was so anxious to feel her moving, and it took so long. I feel like I was well into my second trimester before I felt her like deep into it. And I have felt this baby at 13 weeks. Actually, the first time we were on the plane to Utah, I was just 13 weeks pregnant, like 13 weeks in a day, and I felt him move for the first time there. And I think part of the reason you feel the baby move earlier with your second, and I've heard a lot of people say this, is you already know what it feels like. So it's not a mystery, because it's a very subtle feeling this early on. It's like a little flutter, like barely noticeable flutter on the inside of your, the inside of your lower abdomen. So yeah, I felt him move about every other day. Since then, it's been about a week. I'm filming this a little bit ahead of when I'm posting it. By the time I post this, I'll be almost 15 weeks, but I'm just 14 weeks now. So that's been wonderful. That's been amazing. And I mostly feel him when I am still and I'm in a semi-reclined position. And mostly when I have Winnie on my belly, like when she's on my lap resting. I don't know if he likes the warmth of her and it makes him move a little bit more. The babies will be more active in utero when you are still, because when you are up and moving around, that kind of rocks them to sleep. So it's really when you're sleeping or when you're very still that they're the most active and awake. And you definitely notice that as you get further along. But that's been a real blessing, having that. I can't believe I almost forgot to tell you that. And I'm trying to think what else to report to you guys. Baby looks normal, everything seems healthy. This is a long video. I knew it was going to be. The family's super excited. We are 2 due dates early February 2018, like the first week of February. My birthday's January 28th. Dawn's birthday's February 1st. Baby's due date is just that end of that first week of February right now, so we'll see. He could be born on one of our birthdays. I'm gonna save talking about my hopes for birth as we get a little closer, because I just don't have enough information right now to tell you guys what my birthing plan is or anything. As many of you probably already know, it wasn't quite an emergency C-section with Charlotte, but it was technically it was a non-emergency C-section with Charlotte, because she wasn't due till I think January 10th or 14th, I can't remember exactly now, and she was born on the 28th, but I had, she was breech, she was frank breech, which means she was like folded up in the pike position, which isn't an issue for delivering early, but it is something that they do a C-section for. But the main problem was that I had super low amniotic fluid, and that's why they went right into a C-section at that point. I am hoping, it's hard to predict and it's hard to control, and I understand that completely, but I am hoping, if it is possible, to have a VBAC, which is a vaginal birth after cesarean. My doctor has said if all is well and the baby's in the right position and everything else looks good, it is a possibility for me. So I'm hoping to carry the baby fully to term and have a VBAC. Those are my hopes, but I'm also very realistic that that might not happen. Just the way my uterus is and how my doctor was able to see it during the C-section, you know, she was able to see the whole uterus. It was it's arcuate, very heart-shaped, and that's why Charlotte was wedged in that position on one side of my uterus for so long, and why they couldn't turn her. They tried an external version and they couldn't turn her before delivery. So it's very possible to have another breech baby based on that information. It's very possible with having a prior C-section that there will be some complication or something where they'll have to do another C-section. But I've done some research into it, and if all is well and healthy, the risks of having a second C-section are actually slightly higher than the risks of having a VBAC. The main risk with having a VBAC is something they call, like, I think it's a uterine rupture, and that's basically where the scar tissue is of your scar. I have a 7-inch long scar the bottom of my abdomen from that surgery. There is risk of that rupturing. There's also a risk of the placenta I forget what it's called, but there's a technical term for it, but it attaching too deeply around the scar tissue. So those are kind of the big risk factors, and if those show up as an indication as we get closer to the end of the pregnancy, then obviously we will do a C-section and it will be fine. But for several reasons, I would prefer a VBAC, and I will go into those more as we get closer and I have more information about how things are progressing. And I feel like I'm missing something I want to tell you guys that I can't remember what it is. I'm just so excited. Can you tell? I'm super excited. I feel so blessed, and I can't tell you, it's like I didn't even know there was a piece of my heart missing. I'm gonna get immune. I'm like super hormonal. I should have told you that. I've been super hormonal this trimester, which I wasn't really with Charlotte. I've been like really, really exceedingly emotional some days, and that is not like me at all. But anyway, I feel like a part of my heart that was missing is just locked into place, and I didn't even know it was missing, but now it's there, and I feel so full. And I just know when our baby boy comes into the world, it's gonna feel even fuller somehow. I didn't even know it was possible, but it is. But yeah, that's, I think, all the news you can use for the first trimester. Sorry, this is a long video. I felt like I had so much to share with you guys, but it's been like 3 months and I haven't been able to tell you anything. But now I can, yay! So like I said in the announcement video, I'm not gonna do weekly pregnancy vlogs. I just don't feel like I have a lot to share in that way, and I'm not taking like weekly bump. I haven't taken a bump photo. Oh, I'll show you guys the bump. I'll insert that footage right here because, oh, I'll talk about that too. Okay, let me talk about that first. I feel like I popped out so fast with this baby. I feel like I didn't show with Charlotte till I was like maybe 15, 16 weeks. Like I didn't really show. Of course, you're super bloated for the first like 8 weeks of pregnancy. That's, at least I have been with both pregnancies, super bloated. But I felt like not just bloat, like there was actual stomach there. And there's a couple reasons for that. You hear a lot of people say they pop out sooner with their second baby. I think the closer together you have your babies, the sooner you'll pop out, just because your body hasn't even had all of the time to kind of suck itself back in yet. Secondly, I didn't do any real dedicated, like super, like go at it exercise between pregnancies because I knew I wanted to try to conceive pretty soon. I mean, pretty soon after Charlotte. For me at least, it feels pretty soon. So I didn't like work terribly on my abs or anything. And so, of course I worked out, I like exercising, but I didn't get too intense about exercise. So that factors in. And then third, having a C-section, they literally cut through your abdominal wall. And even if you get back to a really good level of fitness and really strong in your core, your muscles are never quite the same as when they've been all the way cut through. And having looser abdominals will make you pop out sooner, regardless of what pregnancy it is. So I definitely had a tighter stomach before with Charlotte, when I was just pregnant with her, because I just did, and I hadn't had my abs cut all the way through from a C-section and all that, so I didn't pop out as soon. But I felt like it popped out really soon. I was in my maternity pants, I think it's 6 or 7 weeks this time around. Not because my other jeans didn't fit, but because it was just too uncomfortable to wear them. The pressure with the bloating, in my experience, creates a lot of unnecessary ill feelings for me. I think even with Charlotte, I got into the maternity pants pretty early, like 8 or 9 weeks, because I found that I just needed that looser waist to help me not feel ill. So just a couple weeks earlier with this baby. But again, I already feel like I'm showing. Like, this is not pudge. This is hard, like, uterus, like, feeling. Like, it's not pudge. Like I said, I'm 14 weeks now, so I feel like I've already got a bump. I will show you guys the bump. There's definitely something there. So here, let's have a look at that. Okay, I'm wearing a dress. I don't know if that's helpful or not, but 14 weeks. Look at that. That's a bump, you guys. That's like, this is hard, like all the way up to my rib cage. And I think I've also heard that being short-waisted, you show a little bit sooner too, because there's not a lot of places for the baby to go. But this is the, like, where my scar is right here from my C-section. Also, boobs definitely popped out. There you have it. Do you see what I mean though? There's something there, right? There's something there, for sure. Definitely now. And the nice thing about this pregnancy, the way the timing worked out, is that I can rewear all of my pregnancy clothes because they basically align with the timeline of my pregnancy with Charlotte. So I have all of the right season of, like seasonal clothes for the right different terms of the pregnancy. So I've got great stuff for fall and winter, bigger stuff for when I'm even bigger, and that's gonna work out great. So I haven't had to buy a lot. I bought a couple of new pairs of pants only because I found that my pants from my maternity pants from Charlotte's pregnancy were just so worn out and so big, because by the end I was so big that they're just really loosey-goosey. So I'm saving those for more towards the end of the pregnancy, and I bought some, more summer kind of crop pants and stuff for the beginning of this pregnancy for summertime now. And I did buy a few bits and bobs for the baby from the Nordstrom anniversary sale. I found out we were having a boy just like a week or 2 before the sale ended. And I did take a little clip of that at home because that package came right before we left for Utah. So I'll pop that clip in here so you guys can see the little bits and bobs I picked out for baby boy. So here are the few things I bought at the Nordstrom anniversary sale. I found out we were having a boy just before the sale ended, so I scooped up some things. This beautiful sweater, and it is so soft. This is I think a 3 to 6 month sweater. And then this little bunting is 0 to 3 months, which will be perfect because baby is due in early February. And then I bought this one newborn outfit with the long sleeve onesie or bodysuit and the little jersey pants, and it is so unbelievably soft. And then I bought 2 of my absolute favorite baby towels. These are very luxurious. They're like normally $50, I think. Yeah, almost. And look at what they were on sale for. We really wore through the ones for Charlotte. She used them for a whole year. So I bought more boyish ones and new ones. And it says not to put them in the dryer, but I do. They don't stay quite as nice, but they're still like the nicest, plushest baby infant towels you will find. So that's my first little boy haul. But I will be doing another nursery, and I will be buying little bits and things for him because we have so much girly stuff. I'm donating all of that to a cause that helps out, underprivileged families in Mexico. All the baby girl stuff that we don't need. But it's fun for me to be able to nest a little bit, now having a boy, get some little boy things. Anyway, I talked forever. That's probably enough of this video. Let me know what you guys think about doing just maybe trimester recaps, or if you'd like to hear from me a little bit more often like that, maybe every once a month or something. Like I said, I'm not doing weekly vlogs. That's just not happening in this season of my life. But I'm happy to share a little bit more frequently than just a trimester recap if you are interested, and I will have little hauls and things like that every so often. And of course I'll share the nursery with you once that's all said and done, but that might be a while because he'll be sleeping with us for a while too. But yeah, yay! I'm so excited to share this with you and to finally have it out in the open, no more secrets. And I hope you're all well. Thank you so much for your lovely and kind support from this announcement. We are so blessed to have you guys be a part of this journey with us too. And I'll be sharing more, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Bye.